There's always one day in the week for me, it seems like, that ends up being an experiment day, volume day, if you want to say. And it seems like it's going to be the day after the MRAP set. So today it was supposed to be roll of every single freaking variation you can think of. I did supinated, pronated, 3 sets of those for 60 kilos. Then I did some dumbbells with 20 kilos. By then I was already exhausted, so I just stuck with 20 kilos. And then I did some kettlebell walks, like, lateral, one kettlebell walks around the place. Thinking about the upper back, thinking about the core, thinking about all these different things, the rotational, anti-rotational twisting forces with having one side loaded. Did a few sets of that, 5 minutes of walking up and down with that stuff in 2 different sets. Sat down, thinking, and then I look at the implements. I'll show you. Then I look at these babies here. The farmer's carry. So I load these guys up. I haven't loaded these guys up in a very long time. So I load them up and I start walking around the place with that. 20 steps each way. Did lots of those with, I think it's 85 kilos. I don't know how heavy the bars are. I don't think they're that heavy. So 420s each arm. It's about 85 kilos or something each. Did that. And now, hands are fried as expected. But constantly thinking about it, and I don't know. I mean, tomorrow's going to be a nothing day. Tomorrow's going to be the 160 kilo day with, no accessories, nothing, just to prepare for the MRAP set. So I'm kind of exploring all these different ideas, thinking about Dan John, thinking about all these influences that I've had over the years. And, I do have the farmer's carry arm. So way before I even recorded my first video, I used to mess around with this. I remember a period that all I did was this, just farmer's carry up and down. Experimented, always experimenting, man. Before I got hooked on the squatting, always experimented with different things. So let's see how this goes. Now, let me tell you about execution sommet. Asked the question that a whole bunch of people also kind of jumped on. He goes, "Goodness, Ivan, why don't you squat inside the rack? I don't want squat every day to end with an accident because you blacked out under 180. I answered this thread, and I said I was going to have a video response because it's so long-winded and I hate freaking typing forever. Basically, it's like this. When I first started squatting, I just freaking lost it. When I first started squatting, I always squatted in the rack, always. Never stepped outside the rack for anything. I did my benching in there, I did my squatting in there, did everything in there. When I got my rack, I just wanted to live in the rack. It was in the garage, and the garage at the time was very, very small, much smaller than this. And so you put the rack in there, the squat rack, and that was it. There was no space around. Did that for a very, very long time. And at some point, I don't know exactly when, probably in the squat everyday journey, I decided to step outside. The first reason was, I don't know if I can show you this, guys. I don't know if I can flip the camera around now. I probably can't. So this squat rack came with these pins that you put straight through the verticals. Small little kind of like pin. I bent that thing. I remember I was squatting some weight, I don't know, and I got stuck halfway up. I lost my balance and I fell backwards and dropped it on the pins, and the pins bent so much that I had to cut one of them in half to pull it out. Now the current safety pins that I have are the square ones, very, very thick. And I've also bent them by failing squats. Now a lot of people are like, why do you have to dump the weight? Why don't you just nicely lower it? I don't know. So when I squat and when I'm fighting against the weight, every single time I do it, I lose balance, I tip forward. And then when that happens, either I snap my spine or I bail. I can't lower it nicely. I see a lot of people squat and they get to the top and they just stay in the same groove and they're just going to lower down and onto the safety pins. I never had that ability, so I always have to dump. And I realized after a little while that I bent my first bar. I bought my first bar. It was a cheapo bar. And it didn't take long for me to keep dropping on the pins. And I noticed that After dropping it a few times, I noticed the bar got bent. And so every time I would unrack it, it would kind of want to roll on me because it was bent. First reason why I don't like dropping on the pins, because I can't fail like most people. I tend to bail and I drop it from like a distance like this from the pins. The thing freaking buckles. Number one, the noise, right? It scares everyone shitless. Number two, it's destroying the bar, destroying the rack, destroying everything around. And so I thought there must be an easier way. So then I started stepping out. Now that's just one reason, right? I told you two reasons there, right? Noise and the damage in the equipment. The third thing, which I kind of learned finally learned when I got the SSB bar. When I started looking for the SSB bar, I first got exposed to it at the gym. I found a gym here with an SSB, and I found that SSB really weird. Like the clearance between, so you have the SSB bar that goes like this, and then it goes down, right? And then you load the weights here. So it's kind of like this type of shape, right? SSB. Now, the distance between the bends matters because those bends need to clear the rack, because when you're getting underneath it, those horizontal bits, those vertical bits of the bar need to kind of swing past the verticals of the squat rack. The one in the gym was basically flush. So if the bar is not exactly to a millimeter perfectly positioned on those J-cups, you can't get underneath the bar. You can't get out of it. And I thought that was really weird. So that kind of got me thinking about buying an SSB that fits my rack. So then I came home, measured the rack, and I realized, I can't remember the measurements exactly, but I realized that my rack is very, very wide, which leads me to my next point. When I'm squatting with the bar in the rack with the pins there, and I walk out, I don't know how many times I would hit the weights on the pins on the way down, always hitting them. So if I don't walk out exactly perfectly in the middle of the squat rack, there's a chance that on the way down I will clip them and then tip myself this way. Or say that the pins go this way and I walk out a little bit crooked and my plates are facing like this. Once again, I clip the freaking pins. And it got to a point where I would unrack the bar, the bar, walk out, and then like look at the feed, look at everywhere. Oh my God, am I clear? And I started getting worried about clipping the damn thing. It's my rack. My rack is very, very wide. When I bought it, I had no knowledge of anything. I thought all racks had a standard. It's far from it. Every freaking maker, it seems, has a different width. It's annoying. Very, very annoying. Now, for bench press, it works well because you can set yourself up before you go. So you set the bar up exactly, you're already grounded, and you just go and you bench. With the squat, you're walking out. So you can lose your bearings a little bit. The third or fourth, I don't know where we're up to. That's the third reason. I hated that. The fourth reason is, when I started recording myself, I started getting pissed off about the angles at which I'm looking at my squat. A lot of times I would sit there and I'm like, I'm gonna position the camera here and I'll walk out and I'll see what's happening with my positioning, with the bar path, all this sort of stuff. And what do you know? The verticals are chopping me in half. I can't see what's going on. It would just ruin the video for me. I can't see what's going on. It's always crooked. Then I started only limiting myself to certain positions. Like, so if you go fully from the side, the plates are blocking you. If you go 3/4, the vertical of the squat rack is blocking you. If you go completely behind, which I can't right now in the position that I'm in right now, you can't see anything, right? You want to be kind of 3/4 because then you get to see the best and the most. So this is kind of the general reason why I don't like squatting in the squat rack. Now, this led me to buying bumper plates. When I first bought the squat rack, I just had these plates, right? Can you see these? Just cheaper, freaking the cheapest I could go. These ones, cheap, plasticky freaking weights with handles, whatever. I didn't really care. I didn't care about aesthetics. I just bought the cheapest thing I could. Then I started buying bumper plates with the idea of, well, I might be failing one of these times and I'll have to drop on the concrete. And I thought to myself, dropping the bar onto the floor with the bumpers on is probably better for the bar than dropping the bar onto the pins. Metal on metal crashing, some small surface area between the bar and the thing is going to damage the bar. It's going to cause lots of flexion and bending in the bar. When you have 4, let's say 3 bumper plates on, when the bar drops to the floor, there's 3 widths of bumper plates making the contact, making the surface area very wide, therefore, in my mind, minimizing the flex of the bar, minimizing the damage to the floor and whatnot. There was a point, I remember back in the day, in my first shed, in the first house that I started the squat every day, where I started putting like mats on the ground, cheaper mats, towels, all sorts, just to like help dampen the sound, just in case I failed. That worked well. So all of these things rolled into one were all around equipment, noise, anxiety of clipping the freaking thing. Basically, long-winded to say that there's many different things that piss me off about it. Then I get into this garage and the floor is uneven. There's certain spots in this garage where I'm kind of like uphill, downhill. It's like this between the two blocks of concrete. This house is very, very old. So then the initial position that I had in the squat rack, I was like, okay, the best surface is in front of the squat rack. So then I started doing that, and lots of different reasons. Now, is it safe to squat outside the rack? In my eyes, it is, because I'm not a rookie, I'm not a beginner, I've been squatting for a very long time, and when you see the Olympic weightlifters, they all work outside the squat rack. And my biggest inspirations in lifting has always been Olympic weightlifters. If you watch the training hold videos, if you watch any of them squat, rarely do you see any of them squatting in a squat rack. It is widely accepted that you squat free. Now, Execution Sommet is concerned about my safety, like what if you black out? In my experience, blacking out doesn't happen like that, like somebody snipers you from the back and blows your brains out. You start to feel like you're blacking out. And I am very, very comfortable about bailing under the weight. Very, very comfortable. I can bail. And when I get to a point where the lights are coming out or the form is breaking, I just bail. I don't wait for the weight to fully defeat me and I start to crash with the bar. No. I bail some 2 or 3 steps before it gets to that stage. So I never felt concerned about my safety. Sure, there's probably a reassurance that 1000% when I'm in the squat rack and have those pins, nothing could go wrong. Like physically, in terms of my safety. But the risk of me getting injured is so low in my mind that it's outweighing all the other stuff, right, that I complained about. So that's kind of the general reasons that are coming straight out of my mind right now why I don't like the squat rack. If I had a skinnier squat rack and I had clearance like this in between the safety pins and the start of the plates, I'll probably squat inside the rack. Probably. Even though many things annoy me about it still. But Coma7778 goes, yeah, it's messed up. You don't go to failure alone, unrecovered without protection. If you get under the bar in the first few reps already suck, you should take a day off. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're not feeling it, don't push it. Execution Sommet then goes, happened to me yesterday, well rested, but I don't know why. Posterior chain had no fire, had to adjust the weight accordingly. I think I will benefit introducing some flexibility in the weight. Here with 170, he would have gotten more quality work and less systemic annihilation. Well, interesting. There we go again with the RPE. Just because I lowered the weight by 10 kilos doesn't mean I'll have a nicer time. Okay, instead of getting 12 reps at 180, I get 15, 16 reps at 170, maybe. I'm still shit. I'm still copping it because I'm pushing it. I'll get 3 more reps. But 12 reps at 180 is the same to me in terms of how distraught I am as 170 times 15. Probably I would say 170 is even worse because it's even longer under the bar. Second thought too then goes, I never thought about it, guys, but it does make sense. If it was a regular set, taking 30 seconds at most, it'd be all right. But 2 minutes with the weight is actually quite scary. Maybe scary for you guys, but this is yeah, sure, 180 maybe for you guys is very, very, but scary. But for me, it's a very comfortable weight right now. Like I can get 12 damn reps with it. Just think about it like this. Pick a weight that you can do for 10. Probably doesn't scare you anymore. You can do 10 freaking reps with it. It's not scary anymore. Scary is 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 rep maxes. That's where it gets scary. Execution Sommet then goes, well, the thing too is that you may know how to fail a squat properly under the right conditions, but with extreme exhaustion, it becomes dicey. Not long ago, I went forward instead of backwards, felt my upper back round, had the safeties, fortunately. I can still, I don't know. It depends on the practitioner, I guess. If you misjudge it and you think you can save it, which I don't like ever using that word, saving. Once you lose the perfect path of the lift, bail it, man. There's no point in saving it. You're not a hero. Oscar Wider goes, he has the crash mat to dump it on. I assume he does it because that would make less noise than dumping the bar in the rack. Doesn't want to bug the neighbors. Yes, that's why I think, at least based on the things he said, yeah, Oscar, you're spot on. That's one of the reasons for sure. Makes sense, but that's assuming he will fail correctly 100% of the time. I'd rather make some racket than risk dying of a broken neck. That's definitely a point. I mean, I can't argue with that. I guess we all have to have that conversation with us all the time. I don't know. I've never failed. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You start warming up, if you feel bad, you feel dizzy. Dizziness doesn't come and grab you like by the balls from the back and you don't even know it. There's conditions. You warm up, you see how you're going. Like, I'm not trying to die in these sets. You know, every rep that I do, I'm calculating constantly, how I'm feeling. Like, I'm not a risk taker like that. I'm not gonna go die. Yeah, the nausea got me yesterday, but that's nausea. Like, whatever, effective training. And then second thought goes, exactly. It's one thing to know how to fail a squat properly, but if it's not your regular fail, or what's worse, if you black out, that's scary. And then I say, look, I'll make a video response. Execution says, waiting for that. Hope you can rest well after the grueling effort. Which, yeah, the nausea continued after yesterday's session, pretty much the whole day. I was able to eat, but I didn't have proper meals yesterday. Ate quite well this morning. Workout today, kind of back to normal. And then Vard Vilsla 858 goes, yeah, man, I've been worrying about this too. No reason not to squat with safeties under these extreme loads and exertion rates. You think you can always bail, but what if you pass out under the bar, man? Could happen to even the most experienced lifters. Definitely could happen to the most experienced lifters. I guess my recommendation is if you're just starting out, or if you're in the first year or two, maybe, yeah, just stick in the squat rack. But I've been doing this for a little while, and the more you do it, the more confidence you get, the more experience you get, not just doing the lift, but also examining your state and your condition and how you're feeling. Once again, I get a lot of my inspirations from the Olympic weightlifting world. I never see those boys squat inside a rack, and no one's dying. The people that do get hurt are in the quick lifts when the bar is being thrown and they're trying to catch and they misjudge or they fail on that lift, the bar crashes on top of you. But for the most part, if you're being reasonable, if you're not being a dumbass, if you're not wearing equipment like wraps and belts and suits, your body's obviously constantly giving you feedback. Now, if you're wearing a belt and you're wrapping the shit out of your knees and whatever, maybe some of your feedback can get a little bit mixed up. And you can snap something then. But for the most part, if you're raw, all of the stimulation that you're getting, all of the feedback you're getting from the body should tell you something is up. And then you just go from there. That's how I view it anyway. Hopefully that answers some of your questions, but you know, over the years I have gotten quite a few questions about this. One of the squat rack. I guess if you don't agree with any of my reasons, just turn your thoughts towards Olympic weightlifting and think about those gyms. Think about the Eastern Bloc gyms. There was no squat racks, man. It's just a sea of platforms with squat stands. That is it. And it's produced many world records. People freaking dying under the barbells. Think about the Bulgarians. 14, 15, 16 fails under a 1 rep max of squats. And everyone's fine. But it's experience, and don't be a dumbass, don't be doing stupid things. If something feels off, don't do it, basically. Like always, guys, appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.